Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, introduced the concept of the shadow, the hidden, often suppressed side of our personality. But what if embracing your shadow could unlock your true purpose? In this video, we'll explore how acknowledging and integrating your shadow self can lead to profound personal transformation and help you discover your life's deeper meaning. Carl Jung believed that within every person exists a hidden aspect of the self, one that remains buried in the unconscious mind. He called this the shadow, a collection of repressed emotions, desires, instincts, and traits that we reject, often because they do not align with the image we want to present to the world. From childhood, we are conditioned by society, family, and culture to behave in certain ways, to be good and acceptable. In doing so, we push away anything that does not fit into that mold. This includes qualities we perceive as negative, such as anger, jealousy, greed, or vulnerability. But it can also include powerful and creative aspects of ourselves that we fear embracing. The shadow is not inherently bad. It is simply the part of us that remains unseen. The more we suppress it, the stronger its influence becomes over our lives. Left unchecked, it shapes our reactions, sabotages our success, and influences our relationships without our awareness. The key to true self-discovery and transformation lies in bringing this shadow into the light. By understanding what we have rejected and why, we gain access to deeper self-awareness and untapped potential. Jung believed that integrating the shadow is essential to achieving wholeness. Only by embracing our full selves, both light and dark, can we step into our true purpose and live authentically. The journey of uncovering the shadow begins with observation. Every time we feel triggered, excessively judgmental, or emotionally reactive, our shadow is likely at play. The qualities we dislike most in others often mirror something we have buried within ourselves. If we feel intense irritation towards someone who is arrogant, for example, it may be because we have denied our own need to express confidence. If we envy others, it might be because we have neglected our own potential. These reactions act as clues, guiding us to the parts of ourselves we need to reclaim. Facing the shadow does not mean indulging in harmful behaviors or becoming reckless. Rather, it means acknowledging these hidden aspects so that they no longer control us from the dark. As we go through life, the shadow makes itself known in various ways, often without us realizing it. When left unexamined, it can silently take control, dictating our behaviors, decisions, and emotional responses. One of the most common ways the shadow exerts its influence is through projection. Instead of recognizing our own flaws, we see them in others. We may judge someone harshly for being selfish while failing to acknowledge the ways we neglect our own needs. We might resent someone's confidence because deep down, we wish we had the courage to express ourselves in the same way. Projection serves as a defense mechanism, allowing us to avoid the discomfort of confronting our hidden truths. Another sign that the shadow is in control is self-sabotage. We set goals, dream of success, and aspire to become our best selves, yet something holds us back. Perhaps we procrastinate on opportunities, avoid situations that push us out of our comfort zone, or settle for less than we deserve. Beneath the surface, the shadow carries old wounds and limiting beliefs that tell us we are unworthy, incapable, or destined to fail. Unless we bring awareness to these subconscious patterns, we remain trapped in cycles of frustration, unable to break free. The shadow also reveals itself through strong emotional triggers. When we overreact to a situation or feel an intense emotional charge towards something seemingly minor, it is often a sign that an unresolved part of ourselves is being activated. If we feel deep resentment toward authority figures, it may point to unhealed wounds from childhood. If we struggle with trust, it may stem from past betrayals that we have not yet processed. These emotional responses provide valuable insight, showing us where healing is needed. Rather than suppressing or ignoring these reactions, we can use them as opportunities for growth. Recognizing how the shadow influences our thoughts and behaviors is the first step toward reclaiming our power. Instead of being controlled by hidden fears and unresolved emotions, we can begin to make conscious choices. The process of shadow work involves deep self-reflection, honesty, and a willingness to explore the parts of ourselves we have long ignored. When we bring the shadow into the light, we no longer have to live in fear of our own darkness. Instead, we can integrate these aspects, transforming them into sources of strength and wisdom. By doing so, we take a step closer to discovering our true purpose, free from the unconscious forces that once held us back. Shadow work is the process of bringing awareness to the unconscious parts of ourselves that we have suppressed or denied. It is not an easy journey, but it is one of the most transformative and liberating paths to self-discovery. Many people avoid shadow work because it forces them to confront painful emotions, past traumas, and uncomfortable truths about themselves. However, what we resist persists. The more we ignore our shadow, the more power it holds over us. Engaging with the shadow allows us to reclaim our wholeness, break free from self-imposed limitations, and step into a more authentic and fulfilling life. The first step in shadow work is self-awareness. We must develop the ability to observe our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. This means paying attention to moments when we feel triggered, defensive, or overly reactive. These intense emotional responses often point to unresolved wounds buried in the subconscious. For example, if we feel extreme anger towards someone for being arrogant, it might indicate that we have repressed our own desire to be seen and acknowledged. If we constantly attract relationships that leave us feeling abandoned, it could be a sign that we have not yet addressed childhood wounds related to neglect or rejection. By identifying these patterns, we begin to see the areas where healing is needed. Journaling is one of the most effective tools for shadow work. Writing down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences allows us to bring unconscious patterns into conscious awareness. A powerful exercise is to explore our projections, writing about people or situations that trigger strong emotions and asking ourselves what these reactions reveal about us. Another approach is to reflect on our fears, insecurities, and the aspects of ourselves that we have been taught to hide. By putting these thoughts into words, we begin to take ownership of them, rather than allowing them to control us from the shadows. Another crucial aspect of shadow work is inner dialogue. This involves engaging with the hidden parts of ourselves in a compassionate and non-judgmental way. Many people find it helpful to imagine their shadow as a separate entity, almost like a wounded child that has been neglected for years. Speaking to this part of ourselves with kindness and curiosity can help us understand its origins. For example, if we struggle with self-worth, we can ask our shadow, "When did I start believing I wasn't enough?" This process often reveals past experiences where we felt unloved, unseen, or unworthy. By acknowledging these wounds, rather than pushing them away, we create space for healing. Meditation and visualization are also powerful tools for shadow work. Sitting in silence and observing the mind without attachment allows suppressed emotions to surface. Some people find it helpful to visualize meeting their shadow in a safe and supportive environment. This can be done by imagining a conversation with the shadow, asking it what it needs, and offering it the love and acceptance it has been denied. These practices help integrate the shadow, rather than allowing it to remain a source of fear and shame. One of the greatest misconceptions about shadow work is that it requires us to become consumed by our darkness. In reality, it is about integration, not destruction. We do not need to act on every impulse or indulge in harmful behaviors. Instead, we must learn to accept and channel these energies in constructive ways. For example, suppressed anger can be transformed into healthy boundaries and self-assertion. Repressed creativity can be expressed through art, music, or innovation. Every part of us, no matter how dark, has a role to play in our growth. By integrating our shadow, we gain access to a fuller, more authentic version of ourselves. Many people search for their life's purpose without realizing that the answers they seek are hidden within the very parts of themselves they have rejected. The shadow holds not only our fears and insecurities, but also our greatest untapped potential. When we ignore or suppress aspects of ourselves, we limit our ability to fully express who we are. The journey of self-discovery is not about becoming someone new. It is about reclaiming the lost parts of ourselves and embracing our wholeness. One of the ways the shadow reveals our purpose is through our deepest wounds. The struggles we have faced in life often shape our calling. Many healers, therapists, and teachers were once wounded themselves. Their pain became the foundation of their wisdom, allowing them to guide others through similar struggles. When we examine our wounds with curiosity rather than resistance, we can begin to see how they have prepared us for something greater. A person who has struggled with abandonment may be called to help others find belonging. Someone who has experienced profound loss may find purpose in supporting others through grief. Our pain is not meant to destroy us. It is meant to shape us into who we are meant to become. Another way the shadow reveals our purpose is through suppressed desires. Often the things we envy in others are reflections of our own unlived potential. If we admire someone's courage, leadership, or artistic talent, it may be because these qualities exist within us, but have been buried due to fear or conditioning. By examining what excites or inspires us, we can uncover clues about our true path. The shadow does not just contain the parts of ourselves we reject, it also holds the dreams we were too afraid to pursue. When we acknowledge these desires, we take the first step toward reclaiming them. Embracing the shadow also helps us break free from external expectations. Many people live according to societal standards rather than their own inner truth. They choose careers, relationships, and lifestyles based on what is considered acceptable rather than what genuinely fulfills them. The shadow often holds the key to our authentic self, the version of us that exists beyond conditioning and social approval. When we integrate the shadow, we gain the courage to make choices that align with our soul's purpose, rather than living a life dictated by fear or obligation. One of the most profound transformations that occurs through shadow work is the shift from self-rejection to self-acceptance. When we embrace our shadow, we no longer feel the need to hide, pretend, or conform. We become more confident in our uniqueness, recognizing that our imperfections are not weaknesses, but integral parts of who we are. This authenticity naturally attracts opportunities, relationships, and experiences that are aligned with our true path. The more we accept ourselves, the more we align with our higher purpose. Ultimately, the shadow is not an enemy to be feared, but a guide to be understood. It holds the missing pieces of our identity, the hidden strengths we have ignored, and the deeper meaning we have been searching for. By integrating the shadow, we step into a life of greater purpose, creativity, and authenticity. The journey may be challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable. When we embrace all that we are, both light and dark, we unlock our fullest potential and step into the life we were always meant to live. True wholeness comes from embracing every aspect of ourselves, both the parts we proudly display and the ones we have buried in the shadows. Many people spend their lives striving to be only what they believe is acceptable, good, or worthy, suppressing anything that does not fit this image. However, true personal growth and fulfillment do not come from denying parts of ourselves, but from integrating them. When we accept our shadow instead of fighting it, we become more authentic, more powerful, and more in tune with our true purpose. Living in alignment with our purpose requires deep self-acceptance. This means no longer hiding behind masks or pretending to be someone we are not. When we suppress our true nature, we create an internal conflict that drains our energy, leaving us feeling disconnected and unfulfilled. Many people experience a sense of emptiness despite achieving external success, because they are living according to a version of themselves that is incomplete. To become whole, we must acknowledge and embrace everything that makes us who we are: the strengths and the weaknesses, the light and the dark. A key step in this process is learning to let go of shame and self-judgment. For years, we may have been conditioned to believe that certain aspects of ourselves are unacceptable. Perhaps we were told as children that we were too emotional, too aggressive, too sensitive, or too ambitious. As a result, we pushed these qualities into the shadow. But these traits, when embraced and understood, can actually become our greatest strengths. The emotions we once saw as weaknesses may hold deep wisdom. The traits we were taught to suppress may be the very things that set us apart and make us uniquely suited for our life's purpose. To live in alignment with our purpose, we must also cultivate self-awareness in our daily lives. This means noticing when old patterns emerge, when we are tempted to fall into self-sabotage, or when we react strongly to a situation. Every emotional trigger is an opportunity to learn more about ourselves. Instead of pushing away uncomfortable emotions, we can ask, what is this feeling trying to teach me? By consistently observing our reactions without judgment, we deepen our connection to our true self and gain the ability to make conscious choices rather than being ruled by unconscious fears. Authenticity is one of the most powerful results of integrating the shadow. When we stop pretending and start embracing our whole selves, we attract people, opportunities, and experiences that truly resonate with us. Many people struggle in relationships because they fear being fully seen. They hide parts of themselves out of fear of rejection, creating inauthentic connections that ultimately leave them feeling lonely or misunderstood. When we accept ourselves fully, we naturally attract those who appreciate and value us for who we truly are. This applies not just to relationships, but also to careers, creative pursuits, and all aspects of life. When we operate from a place of wholeness, we no longer settle for situations that do not align with our deepest truth. Another important aspect of living in alignment with our purpose is learning to harness the energy of our shadow in a constructive way. Many people fear their darker emotions, such as anger, jealousy, or fear, seeing them as purely negative. But these emotions carry valuable messages. Anger, when channeled correctly, can help us set boundaries and stand up for ourselves. Fear can push us to prepare and grow. Even envy can reveal what we truly desire but have been too afraid to pursue. By understanding and integrating these emotions, we can transform them into tools for growth rather than sources of suffering. Creativity is another area where the integration of the shadow plays a crucial role. Many artists, writers, musicians, and visionaries tap into their shadow to create profound and impactful work. Some of the greatest pieces of art and literature have emerged from an exploration of the depths of the human psyche. When we embrace the shadow, we gain access to a wellspring of creative energy that might otherwise remain locked away. Expressing the shadow through art, music, writing, or other creative outlets allows us to process and transmute its energy in a way that is healing both for ourselves and for others. One of the greatest transformations that occurs through shadow work is a shift in how we perceive challenges and obstacles. Instead of seeing difficulties as random misfortunes, we begin to recognize them as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Every challenge we face brings us closer to our true selves, pushing us to confront our fears, develop resilience, and expand our awareness. When we are fully aligned with our purpose, setbacks no longer feel like failures, but rather necessary steps on our journey. Living in alignment with our purpose also requires the courage to break free from societal expectations. Many people live according to the scripts handed to them by culture, family, or society, following a path that feels safe but unfulfilling. The shadow often holds the parts of us that long to break free from these limitations. By embracing these hidden desires, we gain the confidence to carve our own path, one that is uniquely suited to us. This may mean making unconventional choices, taking risks, or pursuing dreams that others do not understand. But when we trust ourselves and honor our inner truth, we create a life that is deeply fulfilling. Another essential practice for maintaining alignment with our purpose is self-compassion. The journey of self-integration is not linear. There will be times when old wounds resurface, when fear takes over, or when we fall back into unconscious patterns. In these moments, it is crucial to treat ourselves with kindness rather than self-criticism. Shadow work is a lifelong process, and there is no need for perfection. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow, but to build a relationship with it, to understand it rather than fear it. When we approach ourselves with patience and love, we create a space for continued growth and evolution. As we integrate the shadow and align with our true purpose, we begin to radiate a sense of inner peace and confidence. We no longer feel fragmented or disconnected, but instead experience a deep sense of wholeness. This transformation does not just benefit us, it also has a ripple effect on those around us. When we live authentically, we inspire others to do the same. Our relationships become deeper and more meaningful. Our work becomes more impactful. Our presence becomes a source of light and strength for those who cross our path. Ultimately, the journey of shadow integration is the journey of coming home to ourselves. It is about embracing every part of who we are, honoring both our light and our darkness, and stepping fully into the life we were meant to live. When we stop running from our shadow and instead invite it into the light, we unlock the wisdom, strength, and authenticity that have been within us all along. In doing so, we not only discover our purpose, but also create a life that is rich with meaning, depth, and fulfillment.